Hello friends, welcome to this video. In this video we'll discuss how to work with nulls in Oracle. We'll discuss few of the functions here, like the is null operator, is null, is not null, NVL, the coalesce, NVL2, null if, and ln in NVL. So here I have created the employee table where the job is salesman, so you can see the data here. So if I see this particular column com, so here you can see it's having the value like 300, 500, and one of the values blank. Now if I want all the rows of com which are less than 500, if I write a query like this, you can see only 2 rows are fetched. The row which contained that null value is not being fetched here. So how we resolve this? So in order to resolve this, we have to use like this is null operator we can use. So we can use where the com is less than 500 or com is null, then it will fetch that particular row as well. So let's discuss few key points. If we use any operator to compare any column value, then it would not return those rows which contain null, as we saw in a previous example. Wherever we are expecting a null value for a column, we can use this is null or is not null operators to get the correct output, or we can use this NVL and provide a substitute value here. The syntax of NVL is NVL the first argument and the second argument. But we should keep in mind that the data type of both these arguments, the first and the second, should be same, else Oracle will try to convert the second argument to the first data type and the error will be returned if the conversion fails. Also, whenever there is a null value, NVL will replace it with a substitute value we provide within the second argument. So for this substitute value for a particular column, we should use a unique value, because it should not match with any of the existing values of any row of that column. If we do operation on multiple columns and if any of the column value is null, then the operation will result in null. We'll see this few in the coming examples. So previously we used the is null operator to get the row where the com value was null. Instead we can use the NVL operation as well. So in the first argument I have given the com, and the second I have provided this substitute value which is 0. So when so what will happen, whenever the value is null, it will substitute it with 0, and so this query, whether it is less than 500, it will be true, and that particular row will be returned. Here we have another example where I have tried to fetch the ename, the salary, and a com. The job is salesman and NVL. So I have written a condition whether this com value should not be 500. So I have used NVL condition. I have used the substitute value as 0. So you can see the 3 rows are returned as before. Then if as I was talking about a substitute value which should be a unique value, it should not be a value which is already existing in that column. So if I use a substitute value as 500 here, so what will happen, this query for this third row, this condition, the com value will be substituted to 500. Okay, and then this condition whether 500 is not equal to 500, this will fail, and so this row won't be returned. So we should be little precautious when we use the substitute value for the NVL. Next are like I have used this query where I am trying to fetch a calculated column, that is the salary plus com value. So I've used the plus operator here. So if you can see the results here, what happens, the total value, if you see the first is coming as null. Even we have the salary, we have the com, right? Wherever the com value is null, it is returning me in null value here. Only where the com value is there plus and the salary value is there, this operation is successful and the correct sum, the total, is being returned. So what we see here, like if we try to perform any operation, if you are using any operator on particular columns, and if any of the row value is null, the result will be null. Similar things like if we use operation and on columns and which are going to return null values, it will give us unexpected result. So here, if you can see, I want all the records of those employees where the salary plus com value is greater than 200. You can see it's returning me only one row, that is where the total is 2650. But if you see here, if I write as a different query where I am trying to fetch all those rows where the salary is greater than 2000 or the salary plus com value is greater than 2000. So if you can see, we have a number of rows. We have this row and this row as well where the salary is greater than 2000, and this should have also been returned here, because but if you see, it's not being returned because as you see in previous example, this total will become null when we try to calculate a value and a null value. So these two column result will return you a null value, and this will give you unexpected results. So we need to be a little careful when working with null values. Next, we have operator like null first and nulls last. So if you can see, in the order by clause, we can use this. If I want to fetch all those rows which are having not null values for com at the starting, right? So we can use this com nulls last. So all the null values of this particular column will be displayed at the end. Then we have this coalesce function, which takes two or more compatible arguments and returns the first argument that is not null. This result will be null only if all the arguments are null. So let's see a few examples. This is the syntax, coalesce, and the column values we can provide here. We can provide multiple column values. So I have used here the coalesce of two columns, that is salary and the commission column. So we can see here salary is the first column which I have used. So it will return you the first not null value, right? So in this case 800 is the first not null value which is returned. In this case also 1600, this is a not null column which is being returned, and similarly. So if I just reverse it, if I use com and salary, then in this case it will return the first not null value, that is 800, similar to what we had here. In this case now it will return you the first not null value. So the first not null column is the commission column, so it will return you 300. Okay, so just reverse of what we saw here, right? So if we change the column order here, so accordingly the values in the coalesce will be affected. Here I have some other examples. So here I will use coalesce of commission and the manager column, which I am displaying here. You can see if I have both the values are null in both the columns, then the output is null. If in this case, if you can see, the first not null value will be returned. So not null value, the first column is com, so the com values, first not null com values is returned. In this case, as com value is null, so it will return you the manager value. Then we have a function called as nvl2. So the syntax is we provide the string here, and if this string is not null, then its first expression is returned, else the second expression will be returned, and the both expressions should be of same data type. Let's see a few examples. You can see in nvl2 I have used like my column, the first column is this com column, and if this is the first condition, this is my second condition. So if you can see what is happening in this case, if it is not null, the com value is not null, it will return you the first value. So if you can see, whatever was the salary value, it is being added with this 100 and this value is returned. And wherever this com value is null, it should return me the second parameter, the second calculated value. But if you see, it is null. So why it is null, we can see here, because as we saw in previous slides, if we are performing any operation and if any column or value, either row value is null, so it will return you a null. It won't do that calculation. So in order to avoid these scenarios, we have to use NVL. So you can see I have used NVL here, so it works perfectly fine now. If the comp value is available here, so the first argument, this first calculated value is being returned, and else whenever it is null, so it will return you the second calculated value. Then we have the null if function, which compares expression 1 and expression 2, and if both are equal, this function returns null, otherwise it returns expression 1, and the data type of both parameters should be same. See a few examples here. I have the country ID and the location ID. You can see in case where both of these are same, equal, then it returns me null. Okay, if it is not same, so it will return you the first expression. So first expression here is the country ID, which is null, it has returned. If both places it is null, right, it will return you null. Now in the first place it is we have a value, and second place it is null, so it will return you the first value, right, first expression. The first expression is country ID, so it has returned me 20 here. You see here it had returned me null, right, because the first expression was null here. And in case if you can see this here, two values are present, so this value is not equal to this, so the first value, this is 30, is returned. Now as we discussed previously also, if we are used both data type of both this column should be the same, else you will get some error like this. Then we have the ln NVL. So this provides a concise way to evaluate a condition when one or both operands of the condition may be null. So this function can be used only in the where clause. The data type of both parameters should be same, and this works similar to the not operator. So how will this result, right? So if we are using it in a where condition, so if a condition is true, then LNVL won't return that row, it will return false. If the condition is false, then it will return that row, because it's just a not, right? It's similar to a not operation. If the value of the condition is unknown, then also it will return you that particular row. Let's see a few examples. So here I have tried to fetch the customer ID, customer name, country ID, and where the condition is here ln NVL country ID is equal to location ID. So you can see the result output is here. So why this output is returned? So you can see first in this country ID and this column, this is not true, right? This is false. So ln NVL, what it will do, it will the not of it, right? So it will return you so it will return it true here, so that's why this row is returned. You can see the other three conditions here. If you can see, we have null value in one of the columns, so this value will be unknown, right? If we do this calculation, this value is going to be unknown. So if the row value evaluates to unknown, then also it will return a true value, and that particular row will be displayed here. So in these three cases, you can see that row is displayed. So these are the four columns which will be displayed if we use this condition. Let's see a different example. If we are using not equal to, okay, so you can see different set of rows are being fetched. So just let's evaluate why these rows are being fetched. We see the first column, 10 is equal to 10. Okay, so this is not equal, right? I want to fetch all those rows which are not equal to, where country ID is not equal to location ID. Then on that condition a not will be applied. Okay, so here this condition is false here, right? Because this is equal. So this condition will evaluate to false. So for the final LNVL, what it will do, it will do a not of it, so it will return it true and will return this row. For other three rows, you can see similarly for this one also, if this condition is being false, okay, because I want all those rows where this value should not be equal to this. So this is a false. It will, these rows will evaluate to false, and when we apply an LNVL, the final value will be true, and that's why this row will be returned. For other three examples, you can see the unknown value will be returned because we have a null value here, right? So whenever there is an unknown value, the LNVL will return those as true, and those three rows will be displayed. Thank you for watching.